Okay. Just seconds. Okay. Before starting, just let's introduce DevOps. And the term of DevOps already solve existing problems that was exist before. This problem, it's related to relationship between development team and operation team. For example, I have a software company, for example, X, that already delivering some sort of software house company, okay, and developers regularly releasing some sort of code, and they need to deploy it for their customers. But unfortunately, due to the nature of the company and the execution, they face a lot of issues regarding some sort of security constraints, security benchmarks, availability and reliability disciplines. These regularly exist in our companies, okay, especially if you work in enterprise or corporate organization. You already in the old school of management, you have a department that managing these kind of changes or releases, which called change management. Department. Regularly, if you have some sort of updates or change or release or something like that, and these might affect the overall operation or the security baselines or guidelines that already your company or the corporate or the enterprise fulfill, you have to make a meeting that grabbing all stakeholders that responsible of the reliability of these applications, and also will be affected against any kind of change. So they bring all members from a number of teams just to anticipate and also negotiate how these change will affect the existing operation, how these change might cause a security breach or not, how these change affect in the availability of the whole system or not. These all discussions should be discussed there regarding to take a decision if I can do this change or not. This kind of practices you might face if someone already study or certified ITIL, might face this kind of practice, which is regularly exist in any company. You anyone facing this kind of practice before, like change management?
Actually, maybe it is different from company to another, Mohammed. So maybe
yeah, I'm just ask about the experience that you already faced before. If no one face it, just let me explain this scenario. Regularly, these kind of activities occurred, especially if you make a major update or minor updates in your system, especially in hardware on software part. And this kind of situation might be considered as a blocker from a developer side. regularly developers working in agile practice. These agile practice that make the developers that make frequent releases to fulfill the customer requirement and also to update the existing software side, either against security breaches, updates, etc. But regarding these kind of traditional practices, developers stuck at this kind of practice. So DevOps comes here to resolve the existing issue with some of practices and methodologies. So we can consider DevOps as a software engineering discipline that help and accelerate the collaboration between the operation part and the developer part. Okay, so developer now needs to apply something on the fly and pretty sure to and need to be confident these software release bug free without any kind of security breaches, without any kind of the effect of these releases might not affect any kind of availability or resiliency of the software at all. So the DevOps as a practice arrange the collaboration between the two parts across the whole life cycle of software, either from planning, designing, releasing, and execution. So after that, I'll bring some sort of figures just to identify where is the options, the collaboration between the developers and the operation, and also how we can bring these discipline and work with it as a VMware. And also, for example, for you, Mohammed, how to apply this kind of discipline in your company. Okay, for example, you provide infrastructure as service for your internal customer. I'm correct?
Yes, Baligh. Yes, Mohammed.
Okay, so regarding this scenario, I can build over it and also just simulate how we can apply either full DevOps discipline or at least partial of it, just to accelerate this kind of process. Unfortunately, huge number of people have a misleading definition of DevOps. It's it's an automation only, or a set of tools like OpenShift or Docker or Jenkins or GitHub, GitLab, a lot of tools. It's not about tools. It's all about discipline, just to make sure and maintain the collaboration between developers and testing team and operation team, and make or remove any barriers or obstacles between these all teams. Anyone have any question before proceeding? Please, guys, if you have any question, let me know before proceeding.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. So let's firstly bring a specific graph. Okay, can you see this figure?
Yes.
Okay, just seconds. Okay, as you see here, these the whole cycle end-to-end of DevOps. Regularly, developers plan and gather the requirement from the customer itself. Then, after that, collaborate these all parameters with existing team developers and quality assurance, all of them, and then decide to write the code. Okay, this code should be exist in some sort of code base repository. I'll talk about this point just in upcoming minutes. Okay, then I need to build this code just to make it executable. After that, after building phase, I need to test it just to make sure this code will work fine as expected, will fulfill the customer requirements. Also, there is no bug, logically working fine, everything of this. Then I need to release or make it released after make sure everything is good from the code side or development side. Then we have to decide now to deploy this code or on existing environment. Might be this deployment in on-prem side, in VMware on-prem side, all we can make it over cloud. VMware, for example, on AWS, on VMware on GCP cloud, or VMware in Azure cloud. After the deployment phase, we need to make it monitored. Okay, and after that, these just for make it under monitoring and check if there is any kind of concerns about the behavior of this part, or also these might get a contribution from a testing team as well, just to make sure the application is working fine. Normally, after the code should be deployed, there are a number of other external tests. Okay, this test phase might be related to the code itself, but regarding the behavior of the code after implemented it over our infrastructure, either VM based or in VMware side, or container based like Tanzu or over Tanzu, VMware Tanzu or something like that. So we can, okay, over Tanzu or something like that. Testing team also make a chance to test application over the implemented environment. So make some sort of user acceptance test just to simulate number of users to validate if this code running correctly from client side, simulating the client or customer experience, just to make sure everything is working fine. And sometimes these running over production, the testing team and the development team, it's pretty confident about this, so there is no worry about it. But normally you have multiple of environment in your or multiple of environment or multiple type of environment in your company, like testing environment, stage environment, production environment. The final environment that you can make it public use, which is called production environment. But staging environment, something like production, you have to prepare everything like in production environment. For example, if you have 10 virtual machines that provisioned for this application, so you have to have also same as these 10 virtual machines in stage environment, just to make or to fully simulate the same scenario before launch this product over the production. So this is the end-to-end life cycle. Our role as a VMware administrators and VMware engineers might be relies in this part, not in this part, but we can contribute in this part, but a little bit. But our most contribution in this part, in the deployment and the operation and operate and the monitoring. Okay, regarding this part, now we have numerous of huge number of technologies and huge number of tools that we can use to do this. If you just imagine that if you can do it manually, some sort of not good practice, okay? Because for example, the development team release or make 2 releases or 3 releases per 2 weeks, which is these from one team, one development team. If you have, for example, 10 development teams for different applications, it will be quite complex to manage it manually. So this is a part of the rule of automation here. The automation, now I'm talking about automation from administration level or from VMware administration level, okay? As a VMware administrator or as a VMware engineer in your company. So you have to have a quite experience in automation side just to facilitate the normal workload should be generated from development team across or from this part, okay, from generating code and building code and testing code, okay? So you have to pretty confident about how to deal with this part in automated way. Also, as you mentioned, all of you before, most of you using number of tools in provisioning, but let's talk about it or make classify it more and more. But as you see here, you have infrastructure as a code and then provisioning, configuration management, a lot of stuff that we have here. Just to organize this, let's take it over the board again, and let's see which automation tool should be fit in each part here. Before go to the board again and explain this or deep dive in this part. Anyone have a question regarding what I explained before? Guys, I prefer if we can make it more interactive, just to help me to enhance the session, okay? Because if you have more question, it might be quite good to lead the session to correct path.
Okay, Mohammed, I have one question from our environment or from our work as a administration for VMware. If we have enterprise, so this life cycle of DevOps depends on any iterations that happens or continuous iterations that happens to the application, which is developed by the developers in the enterprise. So if we are talking about most of the applications or the software that is in enterprises are with vendors who are putting the changes on it. So
Okay.
how can we deal with it, or how can we put our environment in the DevOps mindset? How can we utilize our environment to be a DevOps environment? In case if there is vendors are supporting the applications or the softwares that we have, we are not doing or developing by ourselves. So how can we use it in our infrastructure?
Okay, just for more clarification, Mohammed, how these kind of releases quite often. So how many times that you receive updates from the vendor regarding this kind of software releases? It's bi-weekly or
Quarterly, for example, quarterly.
Quarterly. So you don't have quite request to do. It's based on quarter. So okay, at least to partially align with this kind of releases. Okay, you took these code and only push it to your environment without any kind of testing, or you also did some sort of testing in your environment?
No, we are doing some pre-tests or some testing and pre-production for our environment. Okay, I can ask it in another kind for this question. How can we use this DevOps in our infrastructure only? I don't mean
okay.
I don't mean
okay.
Kubernetes or the tools for infrastructure as a code. I mean, how can I put infrastructure in lifecycle of DevOps?
Okay, so let's discuss this point. These kind of discussion might leads me to other concept, okay, which is called GitOps. Okay, GitOps, it's something like DevOps, but for handling the coding that you're already using in your environment as a administrator. For example, if you make some sort of code regarding or managing infrastructure as a code, or for provisioning purposes or configuration management, okay, so you can use the same life cycle from planning till monitoring. No, this part now it's not handled by developers. It will be handled also by you. Okay, for example, if you use Power CLI just to for deploying infrastructure in your environment in VMware side, so you will plan for this code and then write the code, build and test, then release and deploy this code or use this code for deploying the infrastructure side. Okay, so what is the difference between the practice of DevOps and GitOps? Now, the main difference now, the code itself originally put in central repository like GitHub.
You mean now,
then,
sorry for interrupt, Mohammed, you mean now the versioning?
Yeah. You should make it as a versioning, and also make it for make it trackable and auditable. Okay, so control who makes this change, and also when and what kind of changes already affect the previous code, and then validate if this code is running good or not, and then test it, release, and the deployment phase now it's pushing this code in your environment just to make an effect like creating a virtual machine or configuring some sort of network configuration over a VMware side. This discipline now it's applied for over configuration management and infrastructure as a code, not from code or pure code perspective. So you can apply it. You can apply GitOps in your environment as same as DevOps, but replacing the code part now with the infrastructure as a code or configuration management as a code.
Okay.
Okay, but in this part we can discuss it later on. So just to avoid any kind of confusion, because I think all of attendees might be not quite experienced about this kind of practices. So let's take it step by step. Okay. Just let's start about what is the meaning of these terms, and what is the difference between, for example, infrastructure as a code and the configuration management, and what kind of categories or what kind of automation categories that already exist in your environment that related to administrative part, not developer part. In this session, I'm not talking about, or I'm not talking about developer part. I'm talking about how administrators or VMware administrators cope with DevOps discipline and apply it in their infrastructure. Okay, let's. Okay, let's automation. From 10 years or more than 10 years, regularly we can classify the automation under a number of categories like DSL or multi-purpose programming language. Okay, DSL domain specific language. Domain specific language, we can consider it as a scripting language or programming language that fit for a specific domain, like in Linux, something like Bash scripting. In Windows, something like PowerShell. But now PowerShell is not related to Windows only. You can run PowerShell now over Windows, Linux, Mac, because now originally PowerShell it's based on .NET, and after Microsoft release .core or core.NET, which is cross-platform language, which is make PowerShell run over Linux, Windows, and Mac systems. So you can use it over multiple of operating system or cross-platform operating system. Okay. Multi-purpose programming language that regularly used for automation. You can use Python for this. But if we can just imagine how can I deal with this kind of programming languages previously to do a specific task, it will be quite complex because, for example, in Linux, if you have a bash scripting that run already in a specific distribution, it will be quite complex to run or rerun this bash scripting for other distribution without any kind of modification. So you have to have a logic layer for distinguish between these Linux distribution, then apply a suitable bash scripting against the suitable distribution that should be run without any kind of errors. Okay. Also in any other domain specific language, but might be PowerShell have some sort of flexibility rather than bash scripting. But also if you use this kind of tools just for make task automation over Linux or Windows, it's something it takes a huge number of lines over a script, and regularly we use these kind of scripting languages for configuration management purposes. For example, what I mean about configuration management, for example, if you have a Linux distribution, or let's make an example for virtual machine, not operating system side. Okay, if you for example provision a virtual machine, does that virtual machine already Windows based or Linux based, and need to install some sort of applications over this virtual machine. Okay, so you can use Linux bash scripting or PowerShell for configuring the operating system and application stuff over the virtual machine itself. Okay, but if someone deal with Linux bash scripting and PowerShell to configure a lot of things, it might be quite complex because you have to write a lot of lines to do this. So from automation level, a lot of vendors that make much easy tools or more to use it, like Ansible, Puppet, Chef, and a lot of configuration management tools that help you to make these workload easier than before. So for configuration management perspective, you can use these tools instead of using regular bash scripting or PowerShell stuff. Okay, might be much easier than before to use this kind of tools. Okay, these regarding configuration management. Also, as well, you can use these use Python for other automation stuff, either from infrastructure perspective or configuration management perspective. But if I'm talking now regarding provisioning infrastructure, for provisioning infrastructure, I have a lot of tools for automating this part, okay? And in the past, we can use or depend on multiple of things, okay? For example, I can use also if anyone from your side know network installation.
What do you mean with network installation?
You can install a huge number of instances via network booting.
Ah, yes, BIOS, what is it called?
Bixby.
Bixby.
Yeah,
you
via,
mean Jumpstart, like?
Yeah, something like Jumpstart in Linux.
Yes. We used to do Jumpstart also. Yes.
Okay. I think you faced a lot of problems and a lot of difficulties to implement something like this when using something like Jumpstart.
Yes, actually. Yeah, we used it for connection between the client and servers, something like this.
Okay. To be honest, this kind of deployment or provisioning tools it's not obsolete. It still exists because you have to differentiate between the provisioning. If I provision in physical environment or virtual environment, so it will be totally different. In virtual environment or cloud-based environment I can use something called infrastructure as a code. So you can make code just to provision virtual machines or cloud instances, okay, via simple code. But regarding provisioning physical environment, you have to have other ways, like, for example, in VMware, you can use auto deploy. If anyone using auto deploy before, VMware auto deploy, or at least heard about it.
Yes, I heard about it. It is similar to the making one host profile and make same for auto deploy for the other ES6s.
Something like that, but it's more than this, okay? Because, for example, if you have new 10 A6i, new 10 physical servers, and you need to deploy A6i over these 10 new servers, okay? And you need to automate the A6i deployment over these new servers via auto deployment or VMware or vSphere auto deploy. You can provision these A6i physical servers with the appropriate A6i via a lot of things, okay, via a specific profile, and then put this A6i in a specific cluster, and also if you need to do a specific security configuration over E6i, also you can do. So all of this stuff you can automate it via auto deploy, and also auto deploy like any network installation, like Jumpstart. It depends on the DHCP, depends on TFTP servers. It's a common way that you already use in any network installation or network remote installation. So if you have a physical hardware and you need to provision, you have to use something like auto deploy for VMware, for example, if because we already talking about VMware automation. So you can use auto deploy for this kind of purpose, okay? But if you need to deploy a virtual machine workload or VM workload, like you can create 10 virtual machines or 100 of virtual machines, so you can depend on infrastructure as a code. Like you can use Terraform for this purpose. Terraform, by the way, you can automate VMware workload, you can automate cloud workload, you can automate a lot of things, a lot of provisioning, a lot of infrastructure. You can deploy it, especially if this is cloud-based or virtual machine-based. In this case, you can use
Mohammed, you cannot. Sorry, Mohammed, to interrupt you. You cannot do the same through Ansible, or we have to use Terraform.
You can use you can automate the infrastructure as a code via Ansible. But just to be honest, you can do it also via PowerShell or Power CLI. By the way, guys, Power CLI is already based on PowerShell. Something called module in PowerShell or snap in, an extension from PowerShell. PowerShell, it's a powerful tool. You can add on it a lot of modules and a lot of snapping just to extend the functionality of PowerShell. So you can integrate it via Veeam, via VMware, a lot of things. But regarding VMware itself, if you add a snapping or module, you can use it as a Power CLI, and you can also automate the infrastructure provisioning workload via Power CLI. So it's not only via Ansible, you can make it via Ansible or Power CLI. But I'll explain it more how I can distinguish between or by when I can use Ansible rather than Terraform, or PowerShell rather than Terraform, or vice versa. Okay, so it's not each tool fit in a specific scenario. For example, if you need to configure something in your environment, you can't use Terraform. You make a configuration management. It will not Terraform. It will not a beneficial way to make it. So you have to use something like Ansible to make a configuration management, or use a PowerShell to make a configuration management, or use Bash scripting to make a configuration management. I know Ansible, Puppet Chef, and any kind of configuration management tool, it will be easier than to use PowerShell or Bash scripting, but you can still you can do the same action via PowerShell or Bash scripting. Especially if this tool matched with your operating system environment or the environment that you need to automate it. Till now, everything is clear?
Yes, Mohammed, I have one question related to the provisioning. Yes, I tried Ansible for implementation, but Terraform is more effective for implementation or deployment, and Ansible for configuration management. Regarding the physical implementation,
yes, please.
You mentioned auto deploy for ESXs or for VMware. What about the physical server? We usually using a physical server implementation for databases.
Okay.
For Oracle database, for example.
Okay. For example,
yes, auto deploy for this.
Okay. Auto deploy will not fit for any cases. Okay. Auto deploy will fit in installing ESXis. Okay. But if you have different workload like Oracle or anything else, Canonical, the companies that already supporting Ubuntu, also has extra product called Mass or Metal as a service. Mass will support you to implement this kind of scenario. So using Mass, you can install, for example, Linux, Oracle Linux, or Red Hat, or any other stuff. Okay, you can install any kind of operating system or any workload via Mass, and also you can install ES6i as well via Mass. Mass is Metal as a service, and you can search about this keyword, Metal as a service, Metal as a service, Metal as service tools. Okay, so when you search about these keyword, you will see a lot of tools that supporting this kind of situation. You can install Linux, Windows, hypervisors, many hypervisors, like these kind of tools. Not only like auto deploy for VMware, just it's special for ES6i installation, which makes sense.
What's the mechanism that's using the Mass? Bixby, yes.
Yeah, also using Bixby.
Yes.
Okay. And also it's something good for discovering any servers that you already attached in your environment. It will be also good, and you can automate it. And also VMware have a nice book which is called just let me bring this book for you. It will be also good just to this one. This book already existed, already released in 2015, and also have a good tools regarding DevOps automation that relate to VMware and other stuff. Something like Razor. This is a tool also for provisioning physical workload. Okay, and this Razor it's related to Puppet. Puppet already using Razor for deploying physical or provisioning physical workload. So you can using Razor, you can using a lot of things. But this book also, if you can access it, it will be a good reference for you. The DevOps for VMware Administrator. So I can share with Mohammed Ali all recommended resources. Also, then Mohammed Ali can share these resources for all of you. But at least this book, it's a good reference for you for DevOps for VMware. And also this book might be old release. It's released 2015, and also have a quite good code stuff. You can use it as well. Back to okay. Anyone have any question before continue?
No, thank you, Mohammed. But you'd like to know how much time remaining for this, because 1 hour left. So you
Okay.
summarize the remaining or
Okay, as I mentioned and dominated as in the start of this session, just these an introduction for how we can evolve DevOps practices over VMware. Just start. If you need to stop now and to continue later on in other session, it's up to you.
You can mention what is the next topics that we are we can talk about it, so we can arrange another series of sessions that we can hold it in VMUGKuwait.
Okay, so let's prepare a list of these topics and share with you, and you can also announce these topics with all of attendees, just to continue as a series later on.
Yes, sure.
Okay, I hope, guys, this session it's good for you, and also as a start, please feel free if you have any kind of comment and any kind of enhancement should be added in the later on sessions. It is much appreciated, and also will give us a good science just to improve this kind of serious topics.
Hi, Mohammed, how are you? I hope you are doing well. I have one question regarding Ansible.
Yes, please.
I need from your side explain more how can you use Ansible to provision VMware, because I tried to do it from my side in my work, but it's not working fine.
Okay, I can send you a reference for this, but from my side, I'm not recommend to do this. Okay, you can use either Power CLI or Terraform instead of using Ansible for provisioning VMware workload. This is my recommendation. But you can use or utilize Ansible for the configuration management purposes. For example, after provisioning the virtual machine, you can use it for operating system configuration automation, and also application configuration automation.
Yeah, we did like that. We right now we're using for installation any applications through servers. We did the same, but I tried to provision VMs, but the book is working fine. But I got some syntax error. I don't know. Maybe we have some issue in API configuration, or we need some like some software or some package to install.
Yeah, might be. So now I can't guide you before see some sort of errors might help me just to provide you the accurate answer regarding this question. But generally, I totally recommend, if you need to provision a workload over VMware, I recommend either using a Power CLI or Terraform for this purpose, rather than using Ansible.
I tried it, Ahmed, with Ansible to provision VMs on vCenter. Maybe you face some network issues because it's accessibility. Maybe using SSH to access it.
No, we have access from our. We are using the Ansible through Red Hat Satellite. But what I heard, once I checked something, is we can use it from Ansible Tower. Maybe what I got right now. Maybe we miss some package to configure API configuration between Ansible to vCenter. I don't know what's the issue right now, but this is what I guess.
Yeah, might be the prerequisite itself might be causing this problem.
Because once I check some pages on YouTube, I can see using Ansible Tower, select vCenter and run the playbook, and it's working fine.
So as Muhammad Ali mentioned, might be related to some sort of firewall issues, might be related to some sort of dependencies. You have to install it before using Ansible Tower Playbook. So there are a number of root causes or root causes might lead this issue, or might lead you see this issue. So to give you an accurate answer, if you have a problem, you can share it with us, and also we can also support you to resolve this issue.
The issue we didn't. They give me a syntax error, but once I take the
syntax error.
Yeah, once I take the playbook and put it in syntax.
Expected the module.
Playbook. Yes,
the module. It's the module might be it's not modules that using or provisioning VMware. It doesn't exist.
I tried VMware dash guest and VMware community like that. But anyway, once I copy the playbook and put it in YAML syntax checker on YouTube online, there's no error. But maybe we missed some configuration. Maybe we don't have plugin. I don't know what's the actually the issue, but we'll see.
Okay. Anyone else have any question before my decision?
I think Muhammad, everything is fine till now.
Okay.
Actually, thank you, and we appreciate your time all in this session, and your valuable knowledge and info that you provided in this session. And hopefully we can arrange another session for another topic related to DevOps or to VMware in general. We can discuss it on the group or local group for VMUG in Kuwait, and we can and we need to mention also that this session will be recorded on the VMUG channel on YouTube to be easily for downloaded.
Okay.
Thank you again, and thank you everyone for this session, and hope to meet again, and Ramadan Kareem. Thank you.
Thank you, Baligh. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.